Welcome to the biographical dossier of Alessandro Giuseppe Antonio Anastasio Volta. This presentation charts the geographic and intellectual trajectory of the man who captured the electric spark, tracing his journey from the historic walls of Como to the academic theatre of Pavia. Framed alongside classic scholarly volumes, a navigational compass, and his revolutionary voltaic pile, we explore the remarkable life and pioneering discoveries of the mastermind who laid the foundation for modern electrical science. Every remarkable journey begins at the base. Born in 1745 to a modest patrician family in Como, young Alessandro Volta was sent to the mountain village of Brunete to be nursed. A silent child who failed to speak a single word until age 4, he raised deep fears of frailty. Yet, this quiet start was merely the prelude to brilliance. By age 7, coinciding with the tragic death of his father, Filippo, Volta experienced a dramatic intellectual awakening, blossoming into a fiercely curious mind captivated by the wonders of nature. In 18th-century Como, a young patrician was expected to pursue the church, military, or civic office through rigid Jesuit schooling and theology. Yet Alessandro Volta defied tradition. Steering toward experimental physics and natural philosophy, he independently mastered French, English, and German to devour forbidden scientific texts. By age 19, instead of focusing on local politics, he boldly proposed that electrical phenomena were directly linked to Newton's laws of attraction, charting his own rebellious path toward scientific revolution. Here, young Alessandro faced a decisive fork in the road. His family expected him to follow his 3 older brothers down the ecclesiastical path, a route heavily encouraged by his early Jesuit education. However, at age 16, his canon uncle intervened, transferring him to the Benzi Royal Seminary to shield him from Jesuit influence. This pivotal shift opened the scientific route. Immersed in poetry and nature, Volta began conducting foundational physics experiments alongside his neighbor, Cesare Gattoni, firmly setting his course toward scientific discovery. Beyond the borders of Como, Volta built a global intellectual network that transcended geography. He addressed his foundational 1769 work on electrical force to Father Giambattista Beccaria in Turin, earned praise from Jean-Antoine Nollet in Paris, and exchanged ideas with Joseph Priestley in England and Benjamin Franklin in America regarding electrical fire. Through these vital international correspondences, Volta wove himself directly into the vibrant web of Enlightenment science. As both a visionary leader and skilled artisan, Volta institutionalized science within medieval Como. In 1774, at age 29, he was appointed superintendent of the royal schools by Count Firmian, proposing sweeping educational reforms. Driven to build and innovate, Volta invented the perpetual electrophorus in 1775, earning the chair of experimental physics without competition, overcoming a local lack of skilled craftsmen to forge his own legendary instruments. Navigating decades of political upheaval, Volta achieved unbroken success through every shifting regime. Serving as decurion of Como under Austrian Empress Maria Theresa, he adapted seamlessly when French forces invaded in 1796. After honoring Napoleon in Paris in 1801, Volta was named Count and Senator of the Kingdom of Italy. Even when the Habsburgs were restored in 1814, his prestige remained untarnished, earning him the directorship of the Faculty of Philosophy. Through Austrian rule, French Revolution, and imperial restoration, Volta successfully weathered every political storm. At Pavia, Alessandro Volta reached the apex of his academic career. Appointed chair of experimental physics in 1778, rector in 1785, and director of philosophy in 1814, his electrifying lectures drew such massive crowds that Emperor Joseph II commissioned a custom physical theater just to hold them. From his laboratory bench, Volta introduced fundamental concepts like capacitance and voltage, and determined the uniform expansion of air a decade before Gay-Lussac, solidifying his 40-year legacy at the summit of science. Here lies a great scientific divide. Luigi Galvani believed electricity was inherent to living tissue, stored in muscles and nerves. But Volta saw further, arguing that animal tissue acted merely as a sensitive detector for current generated by contacting dissimilar metals. This clash between biological animal electricity and physical metallic electricity marked a monumental shift in understanding. The spark of discovery ignited a fierce intellectual clash, flesh versus metal. In 1791, Luigi Galvani observed a dissected frog's leg twitching at the touch of a bimetallic scalpel, proposing that biological tissues inherently generate their own electrical current. A year later, Alessandro Volta offered a revolutionary antithesis: contact tension. Volta asserted that the frog was merely a sensitive, moist conductor and detector, proving that electricity was generated purely by the physical contact of two dissimilar metals. To reconcile these historical debates, modern science synthesized both views into electrochemistry. Where Galvani saw biological tissue powering electrophysiology, and Volta championed metallic contact to invent the battery, modern chemistry reveals the true synthesis: chemical redox reactions. By recognizing metals as fuel and catalyst, and liquids as active electrolytes, this ultimate reconciliation unlocked a foundational understanding of energy, one that ultimately enabled our digital age. On March 20, 1800, the debate culminated in a momentous announcement. Writing to Sir Joseph Banks, president of the Royal Society, Volta revealed his revolutionary breakthrough: alternating stacks of silver, zinc, and moist strata. Designed to prove Galvani wrong, Volta demonstrated that continuous electric current could be generated purely through inanimate materials. With this invention, the voltaic pile, the world's first artificial electric organ, a new era of electrical power was born. Until 1800, humanity's interaction with electricity was strictly limited to static charges. While devices like the Leyden jar could store energy, they could only release it in a single, instantaneous, and fleeting spark. This created a major scientific roadblock. To truly study and harness electricity, natural philosophers required a reliable, steady, and continuous flow of electric fluid. Here, the true mechanism of continuous current unfolds through a chemical redox reaction. At the zinc anode, oxidation occurs as zinc dissolves, releasing electrons into the external circuit, serving as the cell's true fuel. Meanwhile, at the copper cathode, reduction takes place as hydrogen ions from the electrolyte absorb these traveling electrons, bubbling off as hydrogen gas. The copper itself remains chemically inert, acting purely as a conductor and catalyst to sustain an unbroken flow of electricity. At the heart of the voltaic pile lies a repeating three-part cell. It pairs an active zinc anode with a noble copper cathode, separated by a brine-soaked cardboard disc serving as the electrolyte spacer. Though Volta originally capped his piles with extra, chemically unnecessary metal discs due to his flawed contact tension theory, this elegant tri-layer assembly formed the true engine that generated continuous current and revolutionized electrical science. The battery served as the ultimate chemical scalpel, providing a steady electrical current that allowed scientists to tear molecules apart and usher in electrochemistry. Just weeks after its invention in 1800, William Nicholson and Anthony Carlisle used a voltaic pile to decompose water into hydrogen and oxygen through electrolysis. By 1807, Sir Humphrey Davy constructed a massive 2,000-pair pile at the Royal Institution. With this immense power, Davy isolated entirely new elements for the first time in history, including sodium, potassium, calcium, barium, strontium, and magnesium. From a humble stack of metal discs and saltwater emerged the innovation circuit that birthed our digital age. Starting with Volta's 1800 pile, continuous current enabled the 1830s telegraph to transmit early binary signals. Edison's incandescent bulb uncovered electron movement, inspiring early 20th century vacuum tubes that dynamically controlled electrical flow. By the mid-1900s, these evolved into solid-state transistors. Volta's breakthrough didn't just illuminate the dark, it provided the foundational spark of consciousness for the modern machine. Following his 1800 announcement to the Royal Society, Volta demonstrated his battery at the Institut National in Paris in 1801. Over 3 captivating sessions, he proved that continuous electrical current could be generated without animal tissue, disproving Galvani's theories through pure physics and chemistry. Among his audience was Napoleon Bonaparte, who personally awarded Volta a gold medal, a pension, and the Legion of Honor, cementing his Parisian triumph and immortalizing his legacy. This geographical map traces the arc of Alessandro Volta's extraordinary life. From his quiet childhood on the mountain slopes of Brunete and his early defiance of patrician expectations in medieval Como, his journey led to the academic zenith of Pavia, where he reigned for 40 years as one of Europe's foremost physicists. Finally, his path comes full circle at the family estate in Camnago, a peaceful return grounding a global scientific icon back in the ancestral soil where his story began. In 1819, Alessandro Volta retired from public life, escaping turbulent politics and academic fame for the tranquility of his family estate in Camnago. Choosing domestic peace over public glory, he passed away on March 5, 1827, at age 82. Yet his story was far from over. In 1881, the world immortalized his monumental contributions by adopting the volt as the official unit of electric potential, forever embedding the boy from Como into the very fabric of modern electricity.